Welcome back. This is my update for the 1st of December 2025. We finally have an update regarding the meeting that took place between the Ukrainian delegates and the United States Special Envoy in Miami, United States. Mark Rubio gave us a hint about what they've talked about and what is expected to be resolved today. He said there were two more sticking points, very important one, that will be finalized today, not tomorrow. And those are issues regarding territories, land, and also security guarantee for Ukraine. Apparently, all parties have reached an agreement in all other points except those two sticking points, which is territory and security guarantee. Mark Rubio said the issue would be resolved today, the 1st of December, not another day, not tomorrow, but today. So intensified talks are still going on behind closed doors when I was doing this video. Mark Rubio said Russia must be included in any formula or equation to end this war, which means Russia's terms are seriously being taken into account by the United States. And I'll tell you the reason why I suspect so. Witkoff said he will be traveling to Moscow tomorrow to meet with Lavrov to update the Russian side on the outcome of the meeting between Ukraine and himself. Witkoff said the meeting with Russian team will be tomorrow, the 2nd of December 2025, exactly 4 years when Russia gave that ultimatum that NATO and the United States should stop pumping weapons into Ukraine. That was the time Lavrov gave an ultimatum as well that the West need to live up to their legal obligations and activate the Minsk agreement. Exactly 4 years. It will be tomorrow, the 2nd of December. So it seemed like some form of progress is being made here. Now, let's just wait and see what happens, because we've been here too many times before and they give you high hopes and all of a sudden back to square one. The Ukrainian team on the other side made their own statement as well, obviously. And they claimed the talks were good and very productive, but much work still need to be done. All sides said talks were good. All sides said talks were positive. Let us hope, let us hope those words this time is for real. We've been here before. We've been here too many times. They'll tell you everything was great. Talks were good. We're getting somewhere. And the next minute, it's like they move one step forward and 20 steps backward. After the talk ended, Donald Trump poured cold water on everything. There were a lot of positive vibes already coming up after Mark Rubio and the Ukrainian team said talks were good. They only had 2 more points to discuss, which are the most important, and that was territory and security guarantee, which means everything else they've reached an agreement on the rest of the 26 points, right? Donald Trump poured cold water on everything with the statement he made. He said, Ukraine has a big problem. Donald Trump. Yeah, that's what he said on live TV. He said, Ukraine has a big problem right now. There is a massive organized corruption in that country. If you're very familiar with Donald Trump, you know exactly how he says his word. He don't cut corners. He goes straight forward. He said, there is a massive organized corruption in that country, and we will expose everyone involved. At the end of the statement, that was not the bad part. At the end of the statement, Donald Trump said, there was no deadline for the war in Ukraine to end. That was when my jaw dropped. Like, okay, what is going on here? 1 minute we're getting a good vibe. The next minute, everything seems to be shaking, wobbly. That is why I said, don't hold your breath. We've been here before. A lot of people are used to this yo-yo kind of game. It is all political game they're playing. So why would 1 minute the United States Special Envoy said everything was okay, everything is good, just 2 more points to discuss, and then the king, Donald Trump, come up and poured cold water on everything. He said there is no deadline to end or for the war in Ukraine to end. Now you see why I said Donald Trump threw cold water on everything. Why did he say those words? You know, Donald Trump is like a baby, right? He can't hold on to secret. If you ask him, it's like asking a child an honest question. The child will give you the brutal, honest answer. That is how Donald Trump behaved. But why did he say those words? Who is Trump throwing shots at? I mean, more like he's about to go for somebody, or he's keeping somebody in check. That is what I believe. If you know Donald Trump, you know Donald Trump. Zelensky, on the other hand, made his own statement as usual. Of course, he said there are important days ahead and many more things can still change. He said this after he met with the NATO General Secretary, Mark Rutte, or whatever his name is. Now, so while the Ukrainian delegate in the United States are there in talk with the United States, trying to broker some form of agreement, looking for a way to break the deadlock, Zelensky was also here in Europe, meeting with his masters, his European masters, preparing how to say no, or probably to disrupt any positive outcome or any positive progress that is made in those talks in the United States. I'll tell you the reason why I think, the actual reason why I believe Zelensky quickly ran to Europe, to Emmanuel Macron. There's a reason why, and we're going to discuss that in a moment. I'm only saying this judging by history, okay? Judging by the historical behavior of the EU leaders. Nothing more than that. Every time something is trying to come up, they always set themselves up ready to say no or to disagree or to disrupt it without even looking at it. You understand what I meant? To be honest, the EU leaders never actually started anything positive throughout these 4 years of this Ukraine war. Personally, maybe there is something you've seen them come up with that look positive. Please let me know in the comment section. Personally, I haven't seen the EU leader come up with anything positive. They always wait. They will sit back, relax, with their hand folded, watching everyone. The moment somebody comes up with something positive, the moment somebody comes up with a progressive way to start talking about the end of the war, immediately they go against it. That is being the historical behavior of the EU leaders. I'm not trying to point fingers or trying to say the EU leaders are bad. I'm just talking from the point of their historical behavior. And it still baffled me why they continue to do that. From unconfirmed rumors that is flying around, Zelensky is only going through this talking idea with the United States just to make it look like Ukraine went through with it. But himself and the EU, I don't think they are going to accept anything. Another thing why Zelensky quickly gone for that emergency meeting today with Emmanuel Macron was because, according to what I heard, United States is beginning to request for an election in Ukraine. They need somebody, the NABU, the Ukrainian Security Service, or is it security service? No, the anti-corruption or the NABU, N-A-B-U, are planning to launch a criminal case against Zelensky in order to push him out of the office and for somebody else to take charge. At least somebody will be like the caretaker of the government while they organize election. This was according to the Ukrainian publication called Strain. That is what they suggested. And you know, there is no smoke without fire. Something has been said. Something has been discussed. Somebody had leaked those information to the press. Not by mistake, but deliberately, so that it can start coming out slowly to you and me. The position will be filled with a speaker, apparently. So I'm suspecting it to be the leader of Rada, the leader of Ukrainian parliament. Now, this is my suspicion. It could be anybody, but that is the only legitimate person in Ukraine right now. Someone that can sign any rich agreement with Russia. Because with everything that is going on the background right now, trying to get the peace deal, trying to get ceasefire, trying to end the war, that is like part 1 of part 5. Once that is done, it will come down to Ukrainian parliament scrutinizing whatever deal it is, and then who is going to sign it? So I think we're beginning to reach that point where things are beginning to take shape. How quick it will take shape, I don't know. But we're getting to that point. For United States to be talking about election and removing Zelensky from office, then that is a positive sign that something is going to change anytime soon. So, now, it's funny how quick Zelensky dashed to Europe to go and meet his European masters to sort of rally around and get some form of support. Before, it used to be all the coalition of willing. They all come together in their tight suit, in their tight pants, with a tie, smiling, talking. But today, it wasn't so. It was just Emmanuel Macron that welcomed Zelensky. They've all turned, well, not all of them, they've turned their back on Zelensky because their God, Donald Trump, is beginning to lash out at them, and everybody is beginning to adjust. Of course, Emmanuel Macron made a lot of noises as usual. He made a lot of promises. They will continue to support Ukraine to defend itself. And he said a few other things that personally I don't find them relevant to anything that is happening right now. It's just the same usual noise making. But let's wait and see what happened. Witkoff will be in Moscow tomorrow to see the Russian team. Once we get a clear update of what was agreed, what is ready to go, then we will come back here and talk about it. Now, let me round up with something really interesting, because I keep hearing all this news about Ukraine should be compensated. The EU, United States, and all these countries want Ukraine to be given money, to be compensated, right? So, they want Russia to compensate Ukraine for the war that took place in the last 4 years, right? I'm sure some of you are probably going, yes, that is okay, they should do that, right? Let me tell you the reason why I disagree with that. Now, don't have a go at me. This is my own opinion, okay? In my gut feeling, I have the right to express it. It is okay to agree to disagree. So let me tell you the reason why I disagree with this compensation talk for Ukraine. Now, it sounds somewhat good. It sounds like something that is great, something that is good. If you look at it from the human sense of, from the human perspective, it looked like, okay, it makes sense. You know, Russia have been bombarding them, let them compensate them, right? But let me tell you what is not right. What is not right with the idea, or why I think that should not happen. Russia should not give a penny to anybody. Well, not yet, until certain conditions are met, right? In my opinion, I'm sure millions of people out there watching this video right now will agree with me on a few points I'm trying to make. If you don't, please let me know what exactly made you think otherwise, okay? And then we'll talk about it in the comment section. Now, before they can even talk about compensation for Ukraine, I think the United States and the EU and NATO should start from the top. They should start from the top of the list and start walking it down slow and steady. If they really want to play fair and good as the Messiah they call themselves. But we know they are not going to portray themselves to be what they really are. They will come, like a wolf putting on the skin of a sheep, right? That is what they do, and that is what we call double standard. The United States and the EU should start by compensating Iraq first for nearly 8 years war and destruction they done to that country, when they lied to you and me that Iraq has weapon of mass destruction that never existed, all because they wanted to support their own agenda, their own dark agenda. They lied to you and me. They bombarded that country for good 8 years. Not a single penny was given to Iraq, right? Number two, the UK, the United States, and the EU should also start by compensating Libya for the damage and the destruction they done to that country for 8 years, all in the name of humanitarian cover. But they actually went for the brutal hunt of Gaddafi. They claimed the Libyan people were being persecuted, and then they triggered is it Article 4? Or is it, no, there's one, is it article, I can't remember what article they triggered, the humanitarian one. But what they actually went into Libya for is a brutal hunt for Gaddafi. You know the story. Not my mouth when I was here. If you didn't know the story, Google it. Google will tell you. Number three, the United States, the UK, and the EU should compensate Afghanistan for the damage and the destruction caused to Afghanistan for over 20 years straight. 20 good years. A country that don't have fighter jet, a country that have no military, a country that was fighting the United States and the EU and UK with bow and arrow, and they bombarded the country for 20 good years. Not a single penny. Not one of these overfed politicians talked about compensation for Afghanistan. The EU and the United States should start by compensating Syria for the damage they caused to the country for almost over 12 years. They should start compensating them first. I can go on. The United States, the EU, and Israel should compensate Gaza for the ruthless destructions of lives and property and the entire country. They should compensate them first. Now, before you come here and start yapping or start talking about Ukraine should be compensated, all the list I've just given you, they should compensate all those countries first. It's only been 4 years for Ukraine. Not even halfway to all these countries that was destroyed. 20 years, 12 years, 8 years, 16 years. None of you out there put on a placard for those countries to be compensated. But here you are, because of this overfed, double-minded, double standard, and I don't want to use the wrong word here, are calling for compensation for Ukraine when Ukraine had been given all the support they need. 56 countries fighting through Ukraine to fight Russia, and they're calling for compensation. They should compensate all these countries I've just listed above first. Once they've completed the compensation for all of these countries, then we can talk about compensation for Ukraine. Until then, please, no compensation for anybody. Don't talk about compensation. No, everybody stay the way they are. Until they compensate all of those countries they destroyed, nobody should talk about compensation for anybody. So, now you understand the reason why I said I didn't agree with the call for compensation for Ukraine. They're talking about this 100 billion, 300 billion Russian asset to give to Ukraine. For what? For what? Did they compensate Afghanistan? Did they compensate Iraq? Did they compensate Syria? Have they compensated Gaza? Please, people, sometime think with your head and reason. Not because the Western media have pushed so much hatredness, so much propaganda against one person in your head. It blocks out your sense of reasoning. Reason. I understand some of you wonder why someone like me is here arguing, making this argument. Because I remember, I have sense of reasoning. I read history. I know history. I know how we got to this point. So when I talk, listen. Please, if I have missed any other country that you think need to be compensated, kindly mention them in the comment section. And what do you think generally? What do you think? Do you think I made any sense? Please, I would like to hear your honest opinion. It doesn't matter if you're happy with me. If you don't like, I don't know you. I don't even want to like you. If you don't like me, that's your problem. But let's have an open mind and talk about this. Do you think I made sense by saying those other countries should be compensated first? Because Ukraine we're talking about have not even experienced up to 5% of the damages all those countries are listed above. Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, and so on and so forth. Lebanon, you name them. And you're calling for, look what they done to Gaza. Look what they did to Gaza. And you're talking about compensation for you. Get out of here, man.